Tasks, or Renown hearts, are one of the biggest aspects of open world exploration in Guild Wars 2, serving as guides through a map to take you to different places to explore, or as massive pieces of content in and of themselves. The Road of Tyria features many unique tasks that players have completed over the years. With the Janthir Wilds expansion, we saw tasks experimented on again in a very unique way, and I personally find them to be incredibly successful. So, in honor of the final weeks of the Janthir Wilds expansion, let's highlight the 10 best tasks throughout all of Tyria. Let's get started. In the number 10 spot is demonstrate your fishing skills to the village fisherman. This is a task in Saitung province in the Eastern Wilds with a renowned NPC of fisherman Benyo, and this is just one of the starting tasks of the Ender Dragons expansion that primarily focuses on teaching players how to fish, which I think is just phenomenal. I really enjoyed the addition of fishing with the Ender Dragons expansion, and I think this task is a good opportunity to help ease people into fishing with a daily reward system, where there are some fun things you can buy from this task NPC, but the task itself is fun where you can just go around and fish, and there's even a fishing tournament that takes place here that you can participate in to get a lot of task progress as you do that event. But if you don't enjoy fishing, there are a bunch of Nagas nearby that you can go ahead and defeat, where you can go into a Naga camp that's really cool looking and fight those Naga. And then there's also an event where the Nagas will try to raid the village's supplies, so if you just stick around in the village for a little bit, there will be a big fighting event that you can participate in to get a lot of progress towards the task if fishing isn't your thing. But I definitely highly recommend people try out fishing at least once to see if you enjoy it, and maybe a few more times if you don't enjoy it the first time, it might grow on you. In the number 9 spot is help the critically endangered Heket tribe, where this is located in the domain of Kurna in the Bitterfly Bayou. And I feel like this is a task that a lot of people aren't really going to be thinking of when they think of tasks in Guild Wars 2, because this is just a random corner of the domain of Kurna. But there's a really cool thing going on here with the Heket, where I just really like the Heket, where they are very similar to the Hylic, which people should be familiar with throughout Maguma and the heart of Maguma especially. But the Heket played a part in the original Guild Wars in this area of Alona, and there's a lot of connections between them and Palawajoko, where Palawajoko killed a lot of Heket as he killed a bunch of non-humans in this area of the world, especially centaurs as well. Where just for that reason, I like having an opportunity to explore a little bit of the Heket in Guild Wars 2 and their culture and where they live. And the task itself is kind of average, where you can just kill a bunch of things and you can fix broken Heket territory markers, and you can bring firefly bits to the Heket hunters, and just so on and so forth. But there are a lot of events around here that you can participate in to help you out with this task, where the Choya attack event is really popular for many players. In the number 8 spot is assist the Kodan in their coursing upland activities. This is from the Lowland Shore in the Janthir Wilds expansion, and is a fan favorite task in Guild Wars 2 because it's a task where you can go and pet a bunch of Warclaw cubs. And a lot of people really just enjoy having an opportunity to run around a little area and pet a bunch of cubs. And you can also go find meat to feed to the cubs, and you can also pick up and compost Warclaw scat, which is also cool. But there are some things you can fight, and there are a ton of events around here that you can participate in, which will help out with completing the task. But this entire area is just really cozy alongside the rest of Lowland Shore, which as a whole is just an incredibly cozy environment. And I've always enjoyed just coming here and just spending a little bit of time feeding and taking care of the Warclaws and moving on with my adventures. In the number 7 spot is Monastery Training, where this is back in Saitung province, but this time at the training grounds near the Shingje Monastery. And this area is really unique because it is basically a massive tutorial area where new players can come here and can experiment with a bunch of different things, including learning how to avoid attacks, learning how to use combo abilities, learning how Defiance works. You can even paint, which helps out with learning a mechanic that is featured in a bunch of different events. There's some general fighting stuff, and there's even a really cool tiny jumping puzzle located here, an obstacle course that you can run through, which I think is really, really fun. But I really appreciate having a location in an expansion near the start of the expansion that just serves as kind of like a chill, casual area that new players can come to learn some of the basic aspects of Guild Wars 2's combat, because I think it's incredibly important, especially for newer players. And this allows people to skip over a lot of Guild Wars 2 If they're more interested in playing more current content, where this was current content during the Ender Dragons expansion and allows them to skip through the game a bit, but still have the opportunity to learn some things that they might have missed by skipping through the game. In the number 6 spot is help Diah tend her farm, and this is probably the single most completed task in the entirety of Guild Wars 2, where it just has to be on this list. This is located in Queensdale in the Shaymore Fields, right across the bridge from the village of Shaymore, and this is the first task that any new humans playing through Guild Wars 2 complete for the first time. Where way back in the day, on launch day in 2012, many players ran out of the village of Shaymore across this bridge and interacted with this task and completed this task, which is really cool. And in my Guild Wars 2 Let's Play series, this is the first task that I completed after completing the starting tutorial mission, and it's just super nostalgic, primarily for that reason, where the task itself is pretty cool, where you can fight bandits and plain worms, and you can tend scorched corn, and you can even entertain some of the cows around here, which I think is really fun. In the number 5 spot is help Noran around the Harvest Cascades, and this might be a little bit of an interesting task for some players, where this is one that I really personally enjoy a lot, and a lot of people probably don't like it all that much, where this is located in Lake Doric in the aforementioned Harvest Cascades, which is the northern part of Lake Doric around Noran's safe house, where you can basically just kill a bunch of White Mantle centaurs, set animal traps, destroy some White Mantle mines, and you can even kneel in front of the tombstones to get some extra heart progress, which I don't think a lot of players actually know about. But a really cool part about this task is how it is included in the entire centaur area in the northeastern part of Lake Doric, which is a location that I've always enjoyed a lot because it's kind of like an elite area in Guild Wars 2, which we see in other MMOs, where you have open world zones that are filled with a bunch of different activities that players can participate in, usually able to complete those activities by themselves. But then sometimes in certain maps you have a certain location, a stronghold or a forest or something that is just full of elite enemies that an individual player can't really kill any of those enemies or progress through that specific area by themselves, so you have to come here with friends. And this is one of the few examples of that in Guild Wars 2, which I think is really cool to come through here with some friends and kill some centaurs and even complete some of the events around here. But this is a task that I have completed many times because completing this is required in order to access Noran's safe room unless you have the permanent pass. And Noran's safe room is just one of my favorite little jumping puzzles / mini dungeons in all of Guild Wars 2, and I've always enjoyed coming through here and completing this. And because I have enjoyed it so much, I've completed this task many times in order to be able to access that area. In the number 4 spot is help Delilah keep the farmers' fields safe, where this is a task located in the village of Astoria, and it's really similar to the help Diah tend her farm task, where this is a farming task that any new Savari player will interact with for the first time when they first come out of the starting tutorial mission for Guild Wars 2. And because of that, I really enjoy it a lot because it's a big Savari themed area, and the entirety of the village of Astoria and surrounding areas and the entirety of Caledon Forest is just phenomenal. And I do have a fair amount of nostalgia with this task, but I don't really have that much nostalgia compared to like some other tasks, because this wasn't available at the launch of the game, where it was featured in beta weekends, but when Guild Wars 2 initially launched, it wasn't in the game, and then in a future update they actually added it into the game alongside a couple of other tasks, or at least one other task around Tyria, just to help out with the new player experience, which I really like. It can be kind of annoying to add like more objectives in earlier maps that many players have already gotten 100% map completion in, but I'm somebody who does actually really kind of enjoy having some updates to some of the earlier maps to help out with the new player experience, and I think adding a task here was just great to help out with the new Savari player experience. And I think in some maps I would definitely like to see some more stuff added here and there, and some stuff taken away where we don't need as many waypoints as we do in Central Tyria. In the number 3 spot is the Disrupt the Magnetics Lab. This is a task located in the Invariant Enclave in Sandswept Isles, and this is one of the most unique tasks in all of Guild Wars 2, where it features a very unique mechanic where you get a magneton hammer, which you are able to use on the different objects around the room, which is going to basically attract your body to those objects. and this will allow you to float around the room where you will spin around each of the objects, and you can target other objects and you can go ahead and like switch over to that one where you will basically fly over to that, and it's just really fun, and it kind of uses the idea of magnetism with your hammer that you have. And gameplay wise, it's just so much fun. And as you are flying around this room, there are different capacitors that you can siphon in order to progress the task. And then there's also a big event that happens in here where you can destroy some turrets, which is really going to help out with your task progress. But overall, it is just a really interesting task that has a very unique mechanic, and I personally think it is incredibly fun. In the number 2 spot is assist those surveying Mistburned Barrens and keeping their camp safe and running, where this is a task from the Mistburned Barrens, and it is a really interesting task because it basically takes place across the entire map, where you can spend some time just in the center of the map at the starting base, and you can go ahead and build some mist wards, and doing that you can easily and quickly complete the task. But you can also just go around the map and basically do just a ton of different events. Unfortunately, only like some events during the main surveys and not other events, but you can kill a bunch of enemies, and there's even an adventure that rewards progress for this. And really, you just have to go around and do all of the meta events in order to complete this task. And I think that is really cool to see just a task that takes place across the entire map, and doing all of the main things in the map is going to progress towards the completion of this task. And if you don't want to go out on the map, you can still easily complete it just at the starting base. But for me, this is probably one of the most completed tasks I've done in Guild Wars 2, just because I have spent a lot of time in the Mistburned Barrens, just completing events and meta events over and over again, so I've just naturally completed this task a lot. But now for the number 1 spot, for my favorite task in all of Guild Wars 2, and it just has to go to the Assist the Kodan Inhabitants of Harvest Den. For me, this is above and beyond the single greatest task in all of Guild Wars 2, and I just love it so much, and I don't think I've really ever seen anyone say this task is necessarily bad, except for people who just hate every single task in the entire game, where there are a ton of different events that reward progress towards this task, and there's even a challenge that rewards progress. But this is such an incredibly interesting task in a very unique way, because there are basically 4 distinct tasks that are available in this entire mega task, where you have the main task person that you can go and chat with Guiding Breath near the waypoint of Harvest Den. But in 4 different areas, there are 4 like smaller task people that have the task icon that you can chat with in 4 completely unique areas, and you can complete different activities in each of those areas in order to progress the whole mega task across the entirety of Harvest Den. Where the first area is the Forge, where you can basically just do a Forge mini game where you get ore and you smelt it into a metal ingot, and then you can turn that into like a spear, sword, or tool, and then you can organize the tools that you make. Where there's also then a training ground area that is really fun, and it's kind of similar to the Monastery Training we talked a bit about earlier, but a bit smaller. But there is a really big event chain that takes place here in the arena with some really fun bosses that I like a lot, and it's fun to just fight those bosses and progress the task as you do so. Then there's the Bear Paw Fields, which is an incredible farm area that I love a lot, and you can just burn some infested crops around here in order to progress your heart. And then there is the Tavern, the Torpor Tavern, which is just an incredible area of Harvest Den that I love a lot. And we have a full-on cooking mini game in here, where you can take the orders of different Kodan around the tavern and in the seating area outside of the tavern, and then you can find the recipe for what they want and get the different ingredients and throw it together to make a dish, and then serve that dish to those Kodan. And I just really enjoyed this task a lot, and it is really fun. Where there's also a really big mechanic related to Janthir Wilds tasks, where as you complete more and more tasks, you gain basically renown in the area, which is the entire concept of tasks in Guild Wars 2, where you become well known wherever you completed the task. But it's much more of an integrated mechanic here, where as you complete more and more tasks, dialogue from different NPCs around here are going to change, and even some of the different objects around here are going to change, where once you complete all of the tasks you need in order to get to the maximum level of renown, everyone around here is basically going to know who you are, which is really fun. And I think Harvest Den, more so than all of the other places in the Janthir Wilds, does a really good job at demonstrating that mechanic And overall, with the changes to tasks in Janthir Wilds, where all of them are honestly for me pretty great, though some are a bit less popular in the community, Harvest Inn is just above and beyond at the best. And just in general, with all the different areas that are going around here in the Harvest Inn and all the different activities that you can complete, it is just above and beyond my favorite task in all of Guild Wars 2. And that's my list. I hope you enjoyed. Tasks are definitely a bit less popular in the Guild Wars 2 community compared to other activities like events or raids, but for me, I've always enjoyed completing tasks and just doing general map completion around all the different maps in Guild Wars 2. Where if you enjoyed this video, I recently highlighted the top 10 libraries in Guild Wars 2, which similar to this list was really motivated and inspired by the Janthir Wilds expansion. And if you want to see just more top 10 lists in general, I have a full playlist that you can check out. I hope you all are taking great care of yourselves. Have a good one, everyone.